the most important tools for playing aren't on your character sheet, and I want to talk about it today on Greyhawk Grognard. Just a reminder that this video is a collaboration I'm doing with Eric Tenkar and Joe the Lawyer. If you're watching my video on one of their channels, please do like and subscribe to me. And if you're watching one of them on my channel, please do the same. Now, on with the show. So back in the earliest days of D&D, and I'm talking about the white box era, there were a lot more challenges to players rather than characters. And what I mean by that is you would find things in the dungeon, puzzles and traps and things like that, that would require the player to use his or her own knowledge in order to get past it, in order to solve it. So, for example, classic example is like finding a trap. You would describe to the dungeon master what it is you wanted to do, and the dungeon master would say, "Okay, this happens." So you would say, "All right, I'm going to look at the. I'm in front of the chest, and I'm going to feel around it for any kind of hidden springs or catches or anything like that." And the DM would say, "Okay, well, you find something. One of the hasps feels like it's loose." And then you say, okay, well, I'm going to twist it to the right. I'm going to twist it to the left. I'm going to push it in, and eventually, something would happen. Same thing with like secret doors or whatever. You would say, I'm going to search the wall, and I'm going to feel for any kind of cracks, or I'm going to feel for any projections. Oh, you feel like a little bump on the wall. Oh, I'm going to twist it, or I'm going to push it in, and so forth. And that's the way play would proceed. It was a lot less mechanics. As time wore on, Dragon Magazine and everything, we got thief. The thief class came in, and so there was like roles for finding traps and so forth. And but even in the first edition era, there was a lot of things that would just challenge the players and expect the players to use their imaginations rather than relying on what was on their character sheet. And I think that is a big difference from what we see in later editions, starting with about third edition. Because once you have all of these powers and abilities and everything, your inclination is going to be, well, I'm going to scan down my character sheet and see what one of my powers or skills or magic items or whatever is best suited to help me in this situation. So you're playing off the sheet rather than using more of your imagination. And I'm not going to say whether that's better or worse. It's different. I think. I think that's fair to say. I personally prefer a much looser, less agitated style of play. So I like to. Personally, I like it when you're expected to explain what your character is doing, and then the DM reacts to that rather than just rolling a die. So, for example, perception rolls. I hate perception rolls. I hate the very idea of perception rolls because what should happen is the player walks into the room and he says, "Okay, I'm going to look around. I'm going to look I'm going to point my torch at the shadowy area in the corner there. I'm going to look into the at the ceiling. Are there any webbing? Is there any webbing or anything like that? I'm going to look on the floor. Does the dust look like it's been disturbed? That's what I prefer. And even if it can get a little repetitive, it's still, to my mind, more creative than just saying that they're not even having to say it. It's just the DM says make a perception check, and then just magically things happen. I don't personally like that. I like a looser style. And you see this especially with magic users. And one of the things, even back in the day, people would complain that magic users, especially at low levels, are pretty useless because, you fire one spell and then you're just kind of hoping that you don't die because you've only got 3 or 4 hit points. And I think that's exactly the wrong way to look at it. Because for a number of reasons. First of all, the that speaks to playing off your character sheet, right? So if you look on your character sheet and you only see magic missile and that's all you got, then that's the only thing you can do if you're playing off your character sheet. But there is literally an infinite number of things that you can do rather than firing off a magic missile. And I just want to take a sec to thank everybody for watching and really encourage you, if you could, either sign up as a channel member here on YouTube or go over to Patreon and and support me there, because it really does help. The more support I get from YouTube or Patreon is less time that I have to spend writing stuff for sale. So that means more free stuff, more videos, and it really does make a difference. So thanks, and now back to the show. You can use your equipment creatively. You can speak to intelligent monsters and try to negotiate with them, parlay in the old terminology. And you lose a lot of that when your character sheet isn't just your one spell, but you have all these other different things that you can do. And say, okay, well, is this power or special ability going to help me here, or is this one going to do it? Oh, nothing. I don't see. Nothing's on my character sheet that would be effective here, so I guess I'm just going to sit this one out. What you should be doing, and this you can do in 5e as easily as you could in with the little brown books and everything in between. What you should be thinking of is, what is a creative way that my character can react to this situation. So, for example, you're let's say you're the magic user, and your second level, you've used both of your spells, and you're then just tagging along with the rest of the party, and you run up against some orcs. You could you could attack because you've got your dagger or your quarterstaff, but and that gets me to another point, which I'll get to in a second. Or you could parlay with the orc captain. You could say, noble chieftain, we're travelers here. We're looking to uh, we're looking for the hobgoblins who we've heard are your enemies. And then that could open up a door to turning the orcs from just an instant, oh, they're always going to attack, into, oh, there might be something more here. And that also leads into faction play, which I've talked about before. I'm a big fan of that one too. But uh, so you can just be very creative in what you do. You could use your environment. You could, if a battle does erupt and you're the magic user without his spells, you look around. He's like, and you could be like, oh, there's that chair there. All right, I'm going to take the chair and toss it in front of the door, so that if any more orcs come through the door, they're going to possibly fall over. Or they're going to have to kick the chair out of the way and they'll be delayed or whatever. But there are things that you can do outside of what's on your character sheet. And even some of the stuff that's on your character sheet that might not seem very obvious, like your equipment list. Your equipment list is there for a reason. You've got all this other stuff. That magic user who cast his second spell, he still could have flaming oil. He could have acid. He could have holy water. He could have any number of things that you could use if you are going to go into combat. And you can also use your imagination, as I said before, to avoid combat. And that's another thing from the olden days. Back in my day, we didn't always have combat. Because if you had combat, that was like the bad outcome. And this is why back in the early days that you would get XP not for fighting monsters, but for getting treasure. And it's a very important distinction. And the idea was that killing the monster to take the treasure was only one option out of many. A lot of times what you would do, you could either sneak in and get the treasure that way without having to fight, or you could distract the monster, or you could lie to the monster and say, "Oh, we saw your baby dragon is over there. There's, or even there's a baby red dragon a mile over that way. We saw him and we didn't know what to do with him, but he's hurt." And then that could entice the red dragon to go help. There's all kinds of things that you could do to distract a monster, an intelligent monster, admittedly, and even some unintelligent monsters. There's things you can do. You could take your rations and you could throw the rations down the hall, and maybe the monster's going to go after that rather than go after you, because the rations don't fight back. There's all kinds of things that you can do that aren't on your character sheet. And again, this is not an addition thing. It was more widespread earlier on because there were fewer things on your character sheet. But you can do it right now. You can be playing 5e 2024 rules, and you could still do this kind of thing. And I personally think you're going to get a lot more out of the game that way, because you are challenging yourself. You're challenging your own imagination. And as the DM, you could set things up to encourage this sort of thing. Set up encounters that, because you know what's on their character sheets. You know what their powers and strengths are. But if you set up situations where those powers are useless, they're just not applicable, then you're forcing the players to become more imaginative. You're forcing them to think outside the box, think outside the character sheet. And I think once you do that, and this, again, it goes for any rule set, once you do that, I think you're going to find the players are having a much more enjoyable time because they're not just looking at a thing and rolling a die. They are stretching their imaginations. They are trying to solve problems. They are using their, their problem-solving skills and so forth. I think that you'll find they're having a lot more fun doing it that way. So anyway, do tell me what you think in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Am I off base about playing off of your character sheet? Is that what you want to do? I'm sure there are people out there who are just like, no, I want to just stick with the powers that I have, and I want the scenario to cater to those powers so that I can feel a sense of achievement when I roll my die. It sounds snarky because I don't think that's honestly all that prevalent, but if that's what you feel, I want to hear about it. Tell me some of your anecdotes. How have you done this in your own campaigns? What have you improvised? What have you done that was completely off the wall, and the DM had to scratch his head for a second and say, okay, how do I react to your imaginative reaction? So do tell me in the comments. I would love to hear you. Hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will talk to you all. Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.